Welcome back to Kaijumania. I'm Rocket, and this week is a little bit different as I'm quite sick, and if my face is on camera right now, you'd assume this is some sort of Halloween special. Also, apologies for the length of this video. I'm going to try and trim the fat as much as I can. But as I was watching this film, I just couldn't stop writing notes, and in fact I might even release two versions. So if you're listening to this version, heads up, you're on the long version. But enough about me. Today we're here to talk about a heavyweight rematch nearly 60 years in the making. Godzilla vs Kong.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless.
We start off somewhere on Skull Island and we get to see Kong's morning routine. He's scratching his arse, he's having a shower, he does a quick 45 on the treadmill, he has a fry up, he then takes a morning stroll through the park and he meets an adorable little girl who's made a Kong plush out of elephant dung and seaweed. Kong seems to be quite affectionate towards the little creature, as we learn a little later on, as a big flood came and wiped out all the Ewoks on the island, but Kong managed to save this one little girl. Kong is then practicing his javelin techniques when we learn that he's actually inside a massive containment unit, and that should be our first hint of how this fight's going to go, because you try and contain Godzilla, it just isn't going to happen. The titles start and we have to talk about our tournament and how we got here. This kind of reminds me of Vengeance 2001. We've got our Ghidorah, Godzilla, Skullcrawlers, Kong, 4 fighters, 3 fights, 2 belts, 1 undisputed champion. So Godzilla and Ghidorah, they had a fight for the World Championship, Godzilla won. Kong and the Skullcrawlers, they had a fight for the World Heavyweight Championship, Kong won. Now we need Kong and Godzilla to get it on to crown tonight's undisputed champion. We meet one of our characters called Bernie. He's a podcaster and his job is to annoy people so much that they will literally leave him alone in a high security office rather than talk to him. It's there that we learn about sub-level 1933 because he's a fan of the original King Kong, and there's something strange in this neighbourhood, so who's he going to call? Godzilla. And this has got to be one of the best scenes in the film. Godzilla just unapologetically starts laying waste to Florida, fucking up everyone and everything in his path and everything in his sight. He's full heel mode. We've not seen Godzilla be such a badass since what, Final Wars. He atomic breaths right near Bernie. Luckily he doesn't get Bernie. And by the time Bernie's lifted his head up, Godzilla has teleported about 5 miles away and he's blowing up another building. In fact, Godzilla got so excited about this heel turn that he forgot why he's even in Florida. Maybe it's because he's learned that Kong has got a ride at Universal and he's not. Who knows? But to be honest, if you've been to Universal, that Kong ride, it's called Kong Skull Island, but it's just based off the Peter Jackson King Kong film. So that ride's got a bit of a bullshit title anyway. We then need some more plot stuff to happen so we can get this fight up and running. So we have a scene about the Howeevr. Some scientist has wrote a book, people say his book's a joke, and we all know the Howeevr's real, but maybe the government have been covering it up and he's just an author who's trying to uncover it. Who really knows or really cares? All we know is that there's this Spanish dude who needs King Kong to lead a team in Antarctica and get him to Howeevr. I mean, from what we know, Skull Island also has a point to Howeevr, so why can't we use Kong and go that way into Howeevr? Well, if we did that, Godzilla wouldn't meet Kong, and that's the entire point of this film, so ignore that part. Also, the dude that's calling these shots has already built a giant metallic Godzilla. He wants to see how Kong fights, just in case he needs to make a Mechani Kong as well. Anyway, we get our first nod to 62 as we see Kong on, well, not a raft, but on a boat. No cover, by the way, he's absolutely pissing it down and they've not even given this guy a brolly. We do learn 2 things about Kong though. Firstly, he's been taking ASL lessons. And no, that doesn't mean he's been logging on MSN and going age, sex, location. No, he's been learning American Sign Language and he's pretty good at it. Secondly, he eats a lot of fish.
A lot of fish.
Now, some people out there might be thinking,
well, that's not right, because gorillas are actually vegetarians.
but Kong isn't just a gorilla. Yeah, he clearly has some form of ape ancestry down the line at some point or whatever, but he isn't a gorilla. Look at him. Also, it's 2022 and we shouldn't be assuming people's species. Just look at his Twitter bio, for fuck's sake. Also, just look at Skull Island. We saw a lot of weird shit, but we never saw any 15-foot apples hanging from a tree. Where is he getting his calories from? He needs to tuck into a bit of squid now and again. However, we can't talk about Kong's fitness regime right now, as we have got lurking in the water as Godzilla has sensed Kong's presence and we're gearing up for our first fight. It's champion versus champion, meeting quite early on in the film. Let's go! So Kong knows something's up, he roars into the sea. Godzilla pops up like Jaws, knocks Kong into the water. We get a colossal tussle under the sea. The chains are released on Kong. Not that it matters, because we're in Godzilla's yard right now, and Godzilla is the big dog that runs that yard. But Kong manages to get a headbutt in and get back on board. Kong then ninja warriors over a few boats where Godzilla meets up with him. Kong gives Godzilla a big right hook, but Godzilla just takes it, and then he retaliates with a bitch slap, taking Kong straight off his feet. Kong manages to scramble to his feet and elbow Godzilla off the boat, and then Godzilla unleashes his atomic breath. Kong John McClane's off the boat, and it's at that moment Kong's fucked, because he's played right into Godzilla's hands as Godzilla takes him underwater to finish the job, to drown him and retain his belt. However, Kong's corner help out the humans that they unleash a weapon, distract Godzilla, manage to get Kong back to safety. Kong gets back on the boat, he gets the spit bucket, he throws up into that, he's having a word with his manager gets the torch in his eyes. It's like, you look, you're done. Kong throws in the towel, forfeits the title, Godzilla's smiling. Godzilla. And let's be honest, Kong was never in that fight, but as the old saying goes, you play with fire, you might drown. We cut back to Bernie, he's picked up a couple of teammates, he's now got 11 and a Kiwi, as they discover a magical train that goes from Florida to Hong Kong. It goes about 600 miles per hour, so that's going to be about an 18-hour journey. There's no bathroom, there's no in-flight meal, there's no in-flight entertainment, the phone battery's probably going to die, and they're stuck on a train with a giant skullcrawler egg. But they had to get on the magical train because you're not going to get a skullcrawler egg in customs on a plane, so that's why they had to do it this way. Meanwhile, Kong's attached to some helicopters, another nod to 62. We drop him in the snow briefly so we can have him looking like Blizzard from Primal Rage, and we then convince Kong he has to go down a giant hole that goes to the middle of the Earth. We then get to see Howeevr in its full glory, which means when we saw Seatopia last time when Godzilla had his little nap, that's not actually Howeevr, but that's more of a pit stop on the way to Howeevr. Anyway, we get to Howeevr, we've got an anonymous light source, a bit like the sun, so it's constant daytime. But I personally am happy to have an anonymous light source in the middle of the Earth. I'd much rather have that than some bullshit darkness so we can't see the kaijus fighting. So yeah, anonymous light source, thumbs up from me. But it's not only Kong that finds its way to Middle-earth, as it seems news travels as well, because two warbats have turned up and they've heard that Kong lost his title and they're itching to get a #1 contenders fight against Godzilla, so they challenge Kong right there and then. Here we have it, our second fight for the #1 contender, Kong versus the warbats. And straight away Kong deals with one of them by using him like a baseball bat and bashing the other's brains in. The warbat, however, does wrap himself around Kong and starts to suffocate him. He's got Kong on his knees. Kong is literally about to die. It's at this point that Kong's corner intervene yet again, get some weapons fired off at the warbat so Kong can break free, rip the warbat's head off and drink from its skull. So with interference from his corner, a bit of a dodgy one, but Kong manages to win, and your #1 contender, narrowly, Kong. Kong then runs off into another scene in the movie as we go past some crabs, one who's getting eaten by a potential Godzilla looking ancestor. Will that ever come into a thing next movie? Who knows? Podcast have now arrived at an unmanned train station which leads directly into a fight pit. Bit of a dangerous way to get off a train, but It's unmanned, so clearly this is just something that they do. They just ship eggs from Florida to Hong Kong. Nobody checks them. That the eggs just hatch and the skullcrawlers wander into a fight pit. Who knows? However, none of that really matters, because we're here to see the reveal of Mechagodzilla, the very first Jaeger in the legendary monsterverse, who is now more than just an eye.
More than meets the eye.
As he makes his in-ring debut against an undersized skullcrawler. Now, this fight, well, it's not even a fight. Mechagodzilla picks up the skullcrawler and just lasers it in half. However, Mechagodzilla isn't on his own, as he's being piloted by Ken Watanabe's son, and he finds the laser very satisfying.
It's as satisfying to me as coming is.
This fight doesn't go unnoticed, however, as Godzilla hears about it and he's straight down to Hong Kong looking for a fight. He can't quite find Mechagodzilla, so he decides why not just blow a giant hole in the earth and see what happens. He does that, and luckily this hole leads right to where Kong is in Howeevr, which is a nice little coincidence. Oh yeah, there was some scene where Kong gets an axe, some people are downloading data from a robot spider, because the Wi-Fi in Howeevr's really good. And yeah, none of it really matters. All that matters is that Kong and Godzilla make eye contact and they roar at each other. King Kong then makes his way to Hong Kong. It takes him about 30 seconds. During that 30 seconds, Godzilla's got so fed up of waiting that he started walking off. But Kong's up there with his axe. He shouts, "Oi, you!" Godzilla turns around and we get our rematch. The bright lights of not Las Vegas, but Hong Kong, looking like a scene from Pacific Rim. And as PJ and Duncan would say,
Let's get ready to rumble!
Kong misses with the axe. Godzilla starts ragdolling Kong around, but Kong gets out, hits Godzilla with a Superman punch. Godzilla at this point starts using his atomic breath everywhere, just laying waste to the city. Kong is getting the fuck out the door. He wants no part of that. But he does get singed by the atomic breath. Godzilla then starts laughing, and why wouldn't he? He went to Hong Kong looking for a real fight, and this chump of a chimp turns up with an axe, and it's just a bit of child's play for Godzilla. However, Kong manages to pull off some sick parkour skills, and as Godzilla unleashes his atomic breath, Kong blocks it with his axe and smashes Godzilla right in his face, sending him clean through a building. It's at this point Kong's corner are saying, "Looks like round 2 goes to Kong." But no, had this been the end of it, had Godzilla walked off or had Kong walked off, I might have agreed that this was the end of round 2. But no, this isn't the end of the fight. This fight, we cut away for less than 90 seconds, and it should be noted, we do a lot more cutting away in previous movies for more than 90 seconds. And we come back to Hong Kong quite fastly, and King Kong, even he didn't think the fight was over, because he's perched on a turnbuckle ready to throw a frigging crane at Godzilla's head. So even he doesn't think he's won this match, so the fight's not over yet. On the bloody Blu-ray, it says Fight 1, Fight 2, Fight 3, and Fight 3 is the 2-on-1 match coming up later. So the Blu-ray says this is just one big match. Adam Wingard has said this is just one big match, so I'm sorry, Kong loyalists, but this is the same match. Kong doesn't win one. Kong is still fighting in this match, and Godzilla gets up and he's a bit pissed off, so he goes to spear Kong. Kong gets out of the way, Godzilla goes headfirst into a turnbuckle. Now Godzilla's really pissed off, so he starts beating the shit out of Kong at this point, swiping, slashing, smacking, stomping. Gets Kong down. Kong goes right down, stomped on the chest. Kong is down and out. Godzilla roars into his face. Kong roars back into his face, but Godzilla's got his shoulders down, pins him to the mat. 1, 2, 3, and still your undisputed champion, Godzilla. Godzilla then leaves Kong to die, and he
dies.
He walks off into the night. At this point, the camera pans up as we hear the voice of Tekken waiting for Kong to put a credit into the machine. But he just can't go on. And listen, I love Kong, I really do. He's my first kaiju love, but there is just no way he was ever going to take on Godzilla. Let's be honest, Kong would get his ass handed to him by most of the kaiju. He just isn't on Godzilla's level, and that's okay. We don't love Kong because he's the best. We love Kong because he's the underdog, he's the fighter, he doesn't quit. He's like Rocky Balboa. However, Mechagodzilla has now woken up and he's decided he doesn't like having a pilot inside of his head. So he fries Ken Watanabe's son's brains out and goes on a rampage. So Mechagodzilla is purely powered by the bones of a kaiju, which is a nice little nod to Kaiju. Although one thing I wished it would have took more of a nod is the design. Because this is the 5th incarnation of Mechagodzilla we've seen on the silver screen. And unfortunately, this is probably my least favourite. So, and just if you're curious. Number 5, this version. Number 4, Ready Player One. Number 3, Heisei Super Godzilla. Number 2, Millennium Kaiju. And number 1, Showa Era Mecha 74. I don't know what you're thinking. Ready Player One doesn't really count, but the design in that film is still better than this one. I'm not sure what it is when it comes to Legendary and their designs of kaiju, but I'm just not that big of a fan of the designs that they choose. However, none of that is stopping our newly awoken Mechagodzilla challenging Godzilla to the undisputed title. Has he earned his title shot? No. But Godzilla's a good guy and he's always willing to throw hands, even if he's just finished a fight with Kong. So here we have it, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, undisputed championship. Mechagodzilla gets in early with a rocket-powered Superman punch. He then grabs Godzilla by the back of the head and he is slamming him into all 4 turnbuckles. We then get Atomic Breath versus Mechagodzilla's Beam. And had Godzilla come into this match fresh like Mechagodzilla has? Would Godzilla's Atomic Breath be better than Mechagodzilla's Beam? Who knows, but he's just been using it for the past 20 minutes. He's just blown a giant hole in the planet and he might be tired. But as it counts, as it stands in the middle of the ring, Mechagodzilla's Beam has put Godzilla down and Mechagodzilla is coming out on top. Now I have to say, I don't like how badly that Godzilla is getting his ass handed to him. And even on the director's commentary, Adam Wingard himself has apologised for this and said that the fight originally was going to be a lot more even. But from a story point of view, as we all knew when this film was going to come out, it's going to be Godzilla and Kong, they fight for a bit and then the mates. And we need a reason for Kong to get back in this match, so we needed Mechagodzilla to dominate so we can give Kong an excuse to get back in this match. So I don't like it, but it makes sense why it happens. So we cut away for more than 90 seconds, I should point out, and we get to see Kong. He gets defibbed by his team, he lethal weapons his shoulder back in his socket, and he joins in on the fight. Mechagodzilla is about to beam inside Godzilla's throat, but all of a sudden Mechagodzilla's got a monkey on his shoulder. Kong and Godzilla burst slide Mechagodzilla through a building, embarrassing in Mechagodzilla. Kong then enziguris Mechagodzilla in the head. Mechagodzilla does manage to get back into the fight, but only briefly, in which Team Podcast pour whiskey onto a computer, disrupting Mechagodzilla briefly, which gives Godzilla just enough time to Atomic Breath Kong's axe, and Kong goes apeshit, ripping Mechagodzilla limb from limb. Kong quickly then taps forward down forward high punch at close range and does Sub-Zero's spine rip. Kong gets you a big win over Mechagodzilla.
Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory fatality.
Had this been a triple threat match, we would be crowning Kong as your undisputed champion. But unfortunately, this became a 2-on-1 handicap match. And further to that, just as this match ends, Godzilla and Kong have a little brief stare down, and Kong drops the axe. He doesn't want none of that. He knows he'd lose to Godzilla. So he drops the axe, he bows down straight away. So Godzilla retires to the sea, still your undisputed champion, and Kong retires to Hollow Earth. Until the next film, where Godzilla and Kong are apparently going to be teaming up yet again against another monster. Will it be the Destroyer? Will it be Gigan? Who knows? We'll find out in 2024 apparently. But that was Godzilla vs Kong, and I for one bloody love this film. For me, this is my favourite of the MonsterVerse films. My favourite American incarnation of a Godzilla in this film. I know it's a Kong driven film, still my favourite Godzilla in an American film. It's a bloody good fun time. Is it stupid? 100%. Does it make sense? 0%. Does any of that matter? Not at all. The title of this film is Godzilla vs Kong, and it friggin' delivers on that title. The rest of the script, the rest of the plot point are there just to get us to the fights, and that's exactly what it does. So you know what? I don't usually rank films or rate them out of 10, but I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. 2 thumbs up, must see. And in fact, I had so much fun with this film that I'm not going to end Kaijumania this week as planned. So, join us on Friday for 5 fun-time funky facts about Godzilla vs Kong, and join us next Tuesday for a franchise that shoulda, woulda, coulda been involved in this, but is no longer going to be the case, as we take a look at Pacific Rim.